Hello, wonderful people. How's it going? Now, today I have the absolute pleasure of bringing you a conversation with Ross and Kiel, the two boys that make up the Mascanada brothers. Now, the concept of Mascanada started back in 2019 following an inspirational experience that they had in Ibiza. And that, combined with their own love of partying, led them to go, you know what, I think it's our turn to host some amazing and fun parties in London. So they hosted their first one, about 200 people turned up, and it sounded like it was an amazing success. That then led to our first lockdown. But this didn't slow them down. And actually they went on to create a pretty good online profile and platform as a result of the live streams that they did. They then went on to gain their own radio show, and when the lockdown was lifted, they were able to jump back into some socially distanced events and then not so socially distanced events. And you could really see the progression that they'd made. Of course, we then got hit by our second lockdown, but this time the wind was not knocked from their sails. They continued to plow on and really plan for the future and create some amazing experiences so that when they came out of that second lockdown, well, it was full steam ahead. You know, they've been able to now play all the way across the UK. They've been able to play across in other countries. And they've been playing with people, you know, some really, really big names at this point, such as Michael Gray, Fat Tony, Roger Sanchez, just to name a few, really. And things are not slowing down. In November, they have got really quite an amazing event coming up, and I'll let the boys tell you a little bit about that in the full podcast. But truly, these two, who sort of have these humble beginnings of just being best mates from back in Manchester, have just used their love of music, not just necessarily disco and not just necessarily house, actually going sort of into all sorts of genres, really. They've used that love to create something really special. And you can see that this is only the beginning. I cannot wait to see where they go, but for now, I cannot wait to hear what they have to say about some of their backstory and, you know, how things are at the moment and what their future plans. So without further ado, my name is Will Brocklebank, and this is a Serotonin Session. Mascanada brothers. Wow. What a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming to join me and coming to join me in Cambridge as well, in particular.
Oh, thanks for having us. It's a little day out for us, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, as I was saying to you before we came on here, like I'm very fortunately positioned because sometimes it can be one of those things where, you know, in when I'm in London, it can take me, you know, an hour and a half, like hour and 50 to like get past, you know, elements of London. But actually, when you come into London, it's not too easy. Bad. You can take it. And, you know, hopefully in the future, I can get you back down here, hopefully for even more fun reasons. But in the meantime, I spent some time looking into everything that you've done, and unbelievably, really, to consider with that is up to really 2019, when we're talking about sort of the Mascanada sense. Obviously, you boys have been sort of involved in this sort of scene for quite a while, but, you know, it's incredible to think what you've been able to accomplish in the space of, you know, just a short window of time. And I think, you know, people need to know about the level of effort, the work that's gone into this, and sort of where your ambitions are for Mascanada. So before we really deep dive into it, I mean, it's always a bit cliche to start with it, but I love an origin story. I love to hear where it all comes from. So, obviously,
where did it all begin?
Where did it all begin?
Chestnut.
I need to tighten. Sorry, buddy. Your microphone's gone for walkies.
What? Right. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's my bad. So fresh tech for today, but nothing but the best for the Mascanada brothers. Oh, there he is. There we go. But yeah, so bit of an origin story. I need to know, you know. First of all, how did you two come about one another, and also what led you to sort of just the initial the pact or the incident of going, you know what, we've got to run some events.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with us. We've known each other a very long time. We went to college together.
Sixth form college.
Sixth form. So we were like 18 up in Manchester studying drama, dance and drama. Musical theatre, and that's what brought us to London in the first place. We came down in 2012, was it? No,
2009, because I started on the 9th of the 9th, 09.
Wow,
yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
So I've never even give this thought. We've been best mates for
a very long time.
I can't do the maths, but it's over 10 years.
Yeah.
So we did the drama thing, and then with I think partying and the club scene and all that raves has just always been a part of our lives, hasn't it?
Always partied, yeah. Like going to, I remember for my 18th birthday, we went to like rock music night because it was just the only load of us had fake IDs. And it was like phone party nights, whatever. If it was a night out, Ross and Kiel are there. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, to be honest, that doesn't surprise me, even remotely, just by, for one, the energy that you seem to bring to, I mean, I've had the pleasure of being able to come to a few of your events, which we'll step on to, but every time you're in the room, you can just sense there's an energy, sort of a willingness to be in and amongst sort of just a large collective of people. So, I mean, that is of no surprise to me. And again, am I right in saying that you're both from Manchester originally?
South Manchester,
well, he's the posh part, it's the common part. But nonetheless, we're still Mancunian.
Yeah. Did you? And when you were in Manchester, obviously 'cause you said that you were friends, and then you was it that you came for the sixth form element in London, or is it that was post?
No, we did sixth form in Manchester.
Yeah.
I'd got kicked out of another school, another sixth form school, and then I had to go to like the rubbish one. No, I'm joking.
Semi-joke.
Yeah, so then I went there, met Kyle and a few friends that we're still like best mates with today. Used to live with Rob, still speak to Jade on a weekly basis, and moved down to London together, like a big load of us. We all wanted to be actors in musical theatre, and we did for like, I think I did it for like 5 years. You did it for few years longer than me, like 6-7 years. Kyle made it, got to the West End. I didn't quite make it.
Oh boy!
Not all of us make it. They did tell us that at college. There was only the 50-50 chance. I'm joking.
I mean, and that's the perfect statistic for two best friends, right? 50-50 situation. But I'm sure you were not bitter, and you provided that moral support all the way through. But so obviously you then went into West End, but in terms of sort of maybe just sort of the wider maybe event scene or music event scene, did you instantly jump from, okay, well actually I'm pretty done with the West End now, and actually now I'm going to go do music events? Or like how did you two have sort of previous experiences in some jobs to do with it?
Kind of in between. We both so during this time we both kind of lived as separate lives as well, as in like. So after the performing, you were managers of,
I used to work in like hospitality, doing bars, because I was doing hospitality in between acting jobs, and it was just the natural progression to go and work in managerial roles, and then I used to give you shifts in it. Do you remember?
Yeah. So
Ross, in between.
Yeah, you gave me a bar job that was. I mean, it was fun, but I wouldn't say it was work. We
were drinking more than we were selling.
Well, again, I bet that was nice.
I think that's been a bit of a common theme for us, though.
Oh yeah, like 100%.
Raucous, absolutely raucous. Yeah,
always found the party, didn't we? Yeah. And then I think that could just kind of led us on to go into back clubbing a lot more. It seemed to be every weekend. We were back on the scene, and this is just partying. You'd picked up DJing along the way. I
was just like a hobby DJ in my house. I had a pair of decks that, like, when you moved the crossfader from like left to right, because it didn't have up and down, you had to blow down the middle when you changed the track. You had to like blow down the gap for it to like the tune to come through. So it became like a running joke in our group of mates, like, Ross, mate, you're blowing on these tracks because it's fire, like blowing on the tracks, and that is how you learn how to mix. You got to blow on the decks.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, wasn't even long ago. So you DJ'd at my engagement party, and I remember saying to all my friends, I was like, Ross is going to DJ. He's like, honestly, the sickest DJ you've ever heard. I didn't know anything about DJing. And was that the one that you brought the track to?
And I brought like a controller. No, it wasn't the blown one. It was a different one. I had to brought a controller and put it on top of the CDJs. And it's like, that is the worst thing now. I'm that bitch now. I remember being in the club on Saturday night, and you can see the other DJ with the controller, and you're like, what are you doing? How have you not learned how to use proper decks yet? And it's like, I was that guy. I remember my first proper gig, I played at Egg, and I turned up and I put my controller on top of the Technic 1210s, and you could just see the sound engineer just being like, "Oh
boy,
what is this guy?"
But at the same time, there's something humbling about that. There's something quite fresh about the fact that you just did it for a bit of fun, and then you just wanted to play out, and I think that is testament for. I personally, I quite love those natural progressions. You weren't necessarily like in that first instance, you weren't just instantly like, "Oh right, okay, well I'm doing this to be this," massive just in DJ individual. It's that like actually you started in your room, you're blowing on some decks and then sort of progress your way up, because that's the thing is that like with this, for example, today, like you're in a room where this looks very, very different to when I very first started this podcast, and it's just one of those things that over time and progression, right, you get to experience things in its best sense. But so am I right in saying now with sort of the Mascanada side of things, this is your full-time gig, this is where you're at fully?
We both do it full-time. I've been doing it like what, a year, and you're like what, 10 months?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, summer was so busy.
Yeah.
We were all over the shop with festivals and whatnot, and then I've been doing these reception jobs that are kind of like 0 hours, and in the end I was like, okay, well I'm kind of away too much to give any hours, so it just kind of happened, rather than being like I'm quitting my job and I'm going to make it work. It just has so far, touch wood, worked.
Just been we had a really busy summer, and there's just the work, as well as us being DJs, we do run events. So it's like we're managing almost like two, not businesses, but do you know what I mean? We're managing two products, us as a DJ and the event. So it needs two of us to work on it. Like definitely we've naturally fitted into different roles within the business aspect of it. Like I'll take certain jobs on. You don't even like say, "Oh, this is your job today, Kyle." It's like Kyle knows that's what he's better at, and his skills lend better to those things. My skills lend better to other things.
And it really is a full-time job.
It really is. Kind of like we work like 9 to 5 hours during the week, and then party at the weekend.
Wow. But it's quite nice that you get to sort of experience that together, right? Because, as you say, that could have been a very lonely experience in some sense, or in some way relatively unsustainable. Like how many times can you sort of go through months and months and months of just, absolute back to back?
I think that is the best thing about what we've got going on, is that we get to share the moment. Like we were in Bristol, and it was just the thought of these DJs touring, not that we're touring the world, but we're lucky that we get to tour the country, and the train journey on your own, you're finishing your set at like 4 a.m. and you're like, oh, now what? You just go back to the hotel. At least like I wake up in the morning in the hotel, it's like, all right, grab a coffee and a croissant, whatever, get the train to get. It's like we are together doing that, and normally I'm hungover and Kyle's not, so at least I've got someone to hold my hand.
And it actually, it blows my mind that people do it alone, not DJing, but running events. The workload is a lot, and we say often to each other, like, I don't know how one person can do this, because it's a lot for two people.
We were in the summer, we were chilling with like an A-list DJ, UK based, I don't want to say the name, and I remember being like, well, where's your tour manager? Where's this person to make sure the driver's there? And he goes, I don't need a babysitter. And you're like, oh, right. So
we do.
then he missed his flight. He was, do you know what I mean? These things, like he did need that person there, but it was like, I don't need a babysitter. And it's like, well, luckily we've got each other.
Yeah.
Like you have to drag me out of things. Sometimes I have to encourage you.
I couldn't do an airport alone.
Yeah.
Like I'd never make it. So,
but I mean, I think that's coming back to what he was saying there about, not having a babysitter. I suppose that's difference between what you two have got and then what maybe he was perceiving he was going to have, right?
Yeah.
Where you two, alongside obviously being business partners and collaborative DJs, you're two best mates, and the relationship that you'll be able to, you will know each other inside out.
Yeah.
You know those
100%.
tough days, and
it's nice to share the moments, share the lows, and share the highs.
I can imagine coming off a stage like when you've had like an absolute banging gig, because you played at Glastonbury this year. I mean, even though first of many, truly, I imagine that with Glastonbury. But I imagine you being able to come off that stage and just having each other and being like,
we've been using the Glastonbury as a bit of a reference point when we've had like low moments over the past couple of months where either we've been skinned or we haven't been getting the gigs that we wanted. We're like, but we did do that. Let's remember that moment. I remember we was talking about it the other day, weren't we? Like, look at what we have achieved. Like we we did Glastonbury, like, and it wasn't just like a Mickey Mouse stage. It was a proper set.
Yeah,
like,
still like without a doubt our favourite gig, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you know, especially the last one when we closed the stage on the last day of the festivals. It was a special moment. So it is easy in this industry to, you know, to get caught up in the lows. So it's important to have that as a reference, and then you're like,
and
okay,
I think maybe that's
on
like
track.
almost the drama school training, like, because as an actor you get so many knockbacks and no's, and that was just second nature to us to be told no things. You get told no, you moan about it for 2 seconds, like, oh well, next, right, what we do now? Move on.
I think that just in general, I think it's just a good life lesson to be going through, right? Because we are all, and especially if you're a certain type of individual, you have certain ambitions in your life, it's very easy to fixate on the fact that, oh, okay, well, we didn't get this, or this didn't go right. And then actually, it's not until someone else comes around you and goes, well, actually, no, take a moment, have a little look. You know, 2019, you were playing to 200 people at your first gig. Now you're playing at Glastonbury. You know, it requires that external force.
And a lot of the reasons we don't get gigs isn't because we're not good. It's some frivolous thing, like, I don't know, they don't want to pay the extra train fare or what, I don't know, like, it doesn't come down to skill level or who you are. It's something like, and then until you meet the promoter and you're like, oh, you didn't get it because of this, you're like, oh, right, that's nothing to do with us. Well,
let's dive into sort of the Masconada world a little bit more. Something that I'm interested in, because again, coming from someone who I just love music, full stop, and obviously for you too, there is, especially with the initial phase of Masconada, there was that focus in on disco, and then that sort of has shuffled in now where you've still got the disco element, but then you've got sort of that real strong house connection to it. First of all, what made you decide that actually these are the sort of, well, initially disco was going to be the prominent, and then linking into house? How did that progression happen? And then outside of that, those genres for both of you, I'm just interested. You know, is there any other genre that, you know, in your downtime, well, it might not even be downtime, right? But in other scenarios, you're like, this genre is it holds a special place in my heart.
I think between us, we're both addicted to music, to be honest, and we have always had the exact same taste in music, which is it's so refreshing to do gigs with you, because you're going to play songs that I've not heard and I'm like, yes, this is a tune.
We never seem to pick the same songs.
Never pick the same songs, but it's always completely like, you know,
we would pick it, but we're just
songs we would
obviously
pick.
just looking in different places.
I think at the time when we started Masconada in 2019, we were listening to a lot of house and disco. That kind of was the sound. Purple Disco Machine, Michael Gray, Seamus Haji, all those kind of artists. Defected, Glitterbox were the absolute, you know, pinnacle of events. So I think that's where we found ourselves. We're like, this is what we're going to do. We started Masconada in Ibiza, so do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, after the Claptone night, we went to Claptone, we were like, oh, that's just what we were listening to at the time. Like, I mean, people have said, why aren't you still doing that? Well, we do that, but do you listen to the same music you listened to 4 years ago? Like, it just naturally progresses. And some of the events that we've been booked on requires a different sound. Sometimes we'll be playing
sounds shift, don't they? And we never want to be a night that's caught up in a genre that's, you know, people, I'm not saying people are not listening to that kind of new disco anymore, but the sound is shifting. LF System is kind of like at the height, and they're doing it, you know, a lot quick, like higher tempos, and it's a bit thumpier, and, you know, we're in love with the sound. So the sound has shifted, and, you know, as it does, and we will continue to.
And I think like the DJs that we look up to, so your Carl Coxes, Scream, Gerd Janssen, they're not a one genre DJ, and I don't think that we wanted to like pigeon ourselves as a one genre DJ, because we listen to so much, like, and we're quite happy. Like on our radio show, we get the chance to like play so many tunes that we would never play in our set. But I'm like the new Jamie XX tune. I'm like, I'm never going to play it, but here on radio, I have an opportunity to play that sort of music, because we're listening to everything.
Yeah, and also watching the crowds as well. You know, as it's kind of developed and the audience has grown, keeping a watchful eye on what people are actually enjoying. And you know, it was you book you've got like a lineup of DJs, residents, and other bookings, and you get that one DJ who's a bit risky and drops something a little bit out there, and if you can see a really good reaction, that's your crowd who are enjoying it. So
and out of lockdown, dance floors, as the clubs reopened, you can see that dance floors were getting faster and harder because people hadn't been experiencing that proper ravey thing for a while. So therefore DJs, the BPMs were getting higher and faster just because naturally people were wanting that sound. And so we just progressed. But like tonight, I'll be doing a disco set in Shoreditch. So it's like, but we're doing it all.
Yeah, that flexibility. Because I mean, if I sort of reflect on where I'm at with sort of serotonin boogie nights, is that, and as I'm sure that you did in that first instance, is that you sort of set yourself a really solid foundation. But, in the back of my mind, I know I love funk, soul and disco. That is something that I've, held dear, even from, when my mum introduced me to it when I was, so young. But I know that around that, it's that, well, you need to also recognize that there is just so much, I only have to just look inwards. I have to go, well, I don't just listen to this one genre. Mm-hmm. So why is it that I should pigeonhole everything that I'm doing into this one sort of element? And, I'm interested to hear, because obviously this summer was amazing for you. Like, how many festivals did you two get involved in?
11.
Yeah.
I think we ended up attending in total 15. And we played at 10 or 11.
Many of them were day festivals, thank God.
So we'd be doing like 2 or 3 a weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, first of all, before I sort of dive into that a little bit more, but like, actually, how are you doing after that? I mean, are you feeling exhausted? Have you had some time to sit and reflect?
We were over it. By the end, we were kind of out. We just wanted a bed, a shower, food.
And a friend of mine, he's a touring musician, and he said to me, I remember when we got started, and I was like, mate, we've got all these festivals, it's going to be sick. We're going to like play on the Friday, stay till the Sunday. And he goes, you won't. And I was like, what are you talking about? I love to party. By the end of it, I was like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
mate.
I think Discotheque was the last one.
And we were like,
we had a minibus and everything. We're like, just go home.
Just go home. Yeah. It becomes too much. Like, you just,
Well, it's dense. That is it. Because as well, like it's, yes, obviously, you have your weekend gigs and things like that, which, don't get me wrong, are still sort of super high energy, but people arrive to that festival on a different level, ready to sort of really kick it up a notch. And I think that, one, obviously you're feeding off that energy, and then two, you're moving about, you're traveling around so much that I can imagine that was towards the end relatively strenuous. And sort of with that, and I think this sort of links in really to something that I've always been. I've always loved about you two, to be honest, is that you're so willing to get artists involved and to collaborate with as many people as possible and get them under sort of, when you're running your own events, and then obviously you've got sort of the DJing element. But something I always think about, and I was talking about sort of this concept to a friend of mine, not yesterday, but the day before, just about interactions that you've had with different people, is that, there are so many DJs out there, and obviously so many are trying to make a name for themselves, and as a result will sometimes reach out to you, or they'll try and engage in certain conversations. But obviously London is a massive place, and there's and just DJing in general is really saturated. Do you find that still, in the position you're in now, that the conversations you get to have with these new DJs, do they still feel authentic? Are they coming at it as in like they're people who are really interested in your work and actually really respect you and want to be involved? Or is it that you're finding that as time is going on, as your experiences change and actually, the growth of Masquerada, are you finding that actually you're starting to see through that a little bit more with more people?
We were saying it yesterday, a good friend of ours, the DJ Encore, Connor, he just started hanging around our events, and then we booked him, and now we're mates with him. And I think that's the natural progression. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sort of, now we're looking at other bookings ourselves. The bookings that we get booked on is because we hang out with that person. It's just plain and simple. I know we were talking off the mic. It's just a case of just being there, being on the scene, meeting people, going out. Like, as soon as we've got a day off, well, right, where are we going? Yeah. Who are we going out to see? What DJs, what's going on in London or wherever? And that's just the case of it. And we get these emails sometimes. Hi, I'm a DJ. Can I come and play? You click on the link and it's like they're a drum and bass DJ. You're like, you've not looked into what we do, like there's no thought into it. But then we can be guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah, of
I know
course.
we approach other promoters for gigs, and it's like,
we've
yeah,
we've got to all make our way, but I think meeting people in person is just the most.
It's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're so lucky. We've got the radio show, so we have guests pretty much every single week. And before meeting these people, we've only got to go off of what they've sent, or do a bit of googling. And after that connection that you have, I think we speak to every single guest that we've ever had.
Yeah, stay in touch.
You have an instant connection, and you're only with that person an hour. But I can't tell you how important it is. Just natural connection.
Yeah,
go to the events. Go to people's events.
Yeah,
actually see what their event's about, what they're trying to achieve.
Well, that means. So, if you then put it even like sort of your promoter hat on, that how much that means. Like every single person that's turned out for you, just from physically being there in the first instance, you're like, respect to that person, because especially in London, obviously it's a saturated place. There is so much going on all the time, and the fact that they've chosen to come and actually spend some time listening to what you've got, and then also are willing to come and actually meet you face to face to have those conversations. I think
there's lots of stuff going on for free as well. It's not like you have to spend
exactly.
quid on a ticket. We do loads of events where it's free entry. Not just saying with us, but like everyone does free entry gigs. So there's lots of opportunities for people to go out and meet the people you want to work with. It's like, when you're like 10 years old and your dad said, "Oh, if you want a job, you go and knock on the door." It's like, it's literally that. Yeah. Like, go and knock on the door of the office. That's, you want to work with Daft Punk? Yeah. Well, not Daft Punk, they're not going, but you want to work with so-and-so, they're playing in wherever tonight, go and meet them. Like,
it's almost like the way in which you knock on the door is different, in the sense of, that you might engage online in the first instance, but then actually the physical act of having those conversations. Yes, you can have the conversations on a phone or through Instagram, but in the same vein with you two, when I think I spoke to you, Ross, like I don't know, on the phone, like however long ago. That's one way in which we can interact and conversate, and you get a sense of one another. But it's not until you see each other in that physical space together, like with now. And something that
can be nerve-wracking for a lot of people. Don't I know lots of people who couldn't go up and do that, but I think we're approachable. And I think. I
think people would be pleasantly surprised. I think put yourself in the situation, be on the scene, show up, and if you're a decent person, I think everyone's quite willing to
help each other.
Spend a little time.
Do you think that someone can be introverted to and still be a DJ?
Oh yeah,
100%.
We know loads of them. Yeah.
Is it just that they will give a lot of their? Because I've met so many, and to be honest, sometimes I feel like I fall under this. Is that I'm an extroverted introvert?
I think I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, that I thrive. I live for those moments where I'm in and surrounded by people. But then at the same time, when I then get that opportunity to just to be a little bit more solitude and sort of in my own space, I think that's where a lot of my recharging happens. But so something I want to touch on as well, which you brought on to a moment ago, radio show. Now this is I actually had a little look at this. This was it back in 2020. December 2020.
Wow, it was it was.
Your first select radio slot was December 2020.
I'm glad you. We must have come up to the anniversary.
I feel like I celebrate all the time 1 year.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow,
so,
okay.
Time has flown. That was a really good thing in lockdown. We had something to do each week.
Yeah.
So the station was sanitized after each DJ. There was no one else, no guests allowed in, but that got us through. We had a gig each week. We weren't playing physically to anyone, but it's like a chance to find new music each week and chat. All right, we've got this coming up, and But I absolutely love doing radio, and you do now.
I do now. It took me a while. It's just very different, isn't it?
It's a different art form.
It's a different art form. I'm very undiagnosed dyspraxic as well, so. DJing's can be quite overwhelming for me. DJing, speaking, and reading is a lot.
Well, again, I think there is massive, and I was just interested to hear what your perceived value, because I know you said that obviously you picked that up during lockdown. But I was just interested to hear what your perceived value of having a radio show was. I mean, you've obviously started to highlight it just then, but because obviously you two are already such busy individuals. You really are like heavily in that London scene. People do know who you are, but is it that sort of that radio show is just to further the exposure, or is it opportunity? You're creating opportunities like what we're creating here. I think
it was that. It was almost a marketing tool for quite some time. But now it has definitely evolved into a show that we produce each week.
So I think it's an absolute staple of our week, really, isn't it?
Yeah. We'd really think about the content that's coming up on it. We think about the guests that we're doing. And then it's also a great networking tool for us. And we've got that consistent thing each week that if we didn't have a gig, at least we've got something to find new music, to meet new people.
Yeah. I think with radio, you just have to be so on it with knowing, the most current music, what's going on in the scene. And, it's just made it an easy task to do each week now. Is like, that's, we both spend all week finding new music. Can't wait to play it on the radio every Tuesday. And then, we get to play out the music that we're going to play at the weekend for gigs as well. Wow. Yeah,
I think as well, because, I mean, I listened to your most recent one, but you've also got that little bit of airwave space to, in between. So obviously when you're DJing, you mix it, you're in and amongst it. You can't necessarily just turn down faders and go, right. So I found this tune. I imagine as well, there's something quite nice about, and I think this even just between conversations with me and my friends, I love almost the backstory of, I came across this tune and I've actually then started going down this route and I found this and then actually I came across it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because as you say, you're music lovers. You are music lovers, and obviously your involvement, engagement in the scene is part of that. But actually being able to then justify and explain, not every single time, right? But being able to really show others that this is my life. I spend my time looking for tunes. I think that's powerful.
But it's also great to shine a light on some of our friends' work as well.
Absolutely.
When they're like that, somebody's got a new tune who is literally a bedroom producer, and they wouldn't necessarily we found this guy BDK. He has 30 followers on Instagram. I just came across his tune randomly. I was like, mate, this is an absolute banger. Shared it, shined a light on this tune, and what an opportunity that we get to put that tune in front of hundreds of other people that listen weekly. And then through that, he contacted us. Thanks for doing it. And now we've got a relationship with this guy. He's not saying he's my best mate, but we've now got a relationship with this guy. Who's to say that he's not the next Carl Cox?
And is that something I'm always interested in with people in your position? Is how have you built your network of individuals? That you've now got involved in your events or people that you've DJ'd for and things like that. Is it sort of a bit of a 50-50 of you are sort of putting in the effort, or
number one is being northern. It is true. If you're at an event, we'll come and talk to you. We never miss anyone. We're literally and we see a lot of kitchens, I guess.
That's such the PC version. That's it. My mum's watching this. What do you mean you're hanging out in kitchens?
Kitchen, baby.
We make it out, and I think we spend a lot of time just meeting people and
just like you said before, being out
at parties. And then I guess our own events, it's over time has built up quite a following. Ross, I think you speak to a lot of people online.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to sort of just hear the word no and approach people and just say, hey. And again, when people approach us, we're happy to have the conversation.
Do you think that willingness to hear no has come from your background in way back in sixth form era and trying to sort of make it down that route?
Yeah, I guess so. The worst, like I always said, the worst thing you can hear is no. It's oh well, move on. And I know that's such a hard thing to get your head around sometimes, but it really is it's never the end of the world. There's always another opportunity. There always is.
I mean, I fundamentally agree with that, and I think that the more you are willing to hear that and not take it so personally, I think the quicker your growth is going to be. But sort of coming back onto the relationships that you've been able to form with different people. When I went way back to the start again, there was a few people that have been, feels like pretty much day one DJs
Recurring,
for you. Yeah. One of them being Tommy Tickle.
Yeah.
And then the other one being Charlotte Van Der Peer.
Yep.
There's two big. I mean, I think there was someone else on that list as well, but these two in particular.
Definitely.
How did you again? Was it that you found these two individuals online? Did they come to your events? And then what was your decision to go? You know what? Actually, these are deserving of a place of residency for Masquerada.
That was it. We wanted to create a resident team. That was always the key. Tommy, we met in a smoking area. No. I'm friends with a guy called Liam Smith who knew Tommy online because through releasing tunes. He said, "Oh, Ross, come and meet this guy. He's moving down from Manchester." I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll go for dinner with him." Became mates, and then we listened to his music and we'd watched him. I booked him to DJ a brunch for me. And we're like, yeah, he's on a level. And then we were just sort of starting out then. We got him there. And then Charlotte
is a friend of one of my best mates.
Yeah.
The big
yeah, with the fan, yeah.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, that's it.
So we met Charlotte at my
Jen,
friend's birthday, and this is, I mean, we hadn't even started a party by this point. And she was like, "I'm going to be a DJ. I want to be a DJ." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Have you played anywhere?" "Nope." Like, but I'm going to be the best. Like, she's very determined. So now knowing her, I knew.
She was out playing with like Majestic at ADE.
I know, this is recently, by the way, not when we met.
Yeah. And same with Tommy. Tommy has like every tune he's released under his name has been on Radio 1.
Yeah.
He's like, seen some real.
So just to see everyone else's progression is amazing. It's like we all share work with each other, and Tommy is, I'd say, a lot closer with us than Charlotte is, and does help sort of give it, because Tommy works as an agent in his proper job. So he definitely comes on for a bit of advice with us with bookings and how to approach certain things.
Yeah, and then
And we've got a new resident now, Holly Prophet. So Holly's...
that was the third one. Newer though.
We booked Holly for a gig we did in Liverpool. She's moving to London and she wanted to be a resident. She approached us and we were like, "Look, you live in Wales. We can't." And then she just moved to Brighton. So we've taken her onto the team now and she's one of the most incredible DJs.
Oh, she is.
So, and we're so lucky that we're working with her.
Come to a gig near you.
So Holly's first gig with us is going to be in November at Steelyard, but she's just amazing, a really cool energy to be around, and a wicked
she
DJ.
fits into the team, I think.
Definitely.
Very well. Well, I'm saying that Charlotte was a dream.
We loved working with Charlotte, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's it's amazing to hear that you've sort of created that team, that sense of community, that you've got these sort of reoccurring individuals, and that you've got this sort of natural relationship that's formed between you. And I suppose then, and I imagine sort of just in the process of you sort of bringing new people on, you've maybe made you reflect on sort of your own identity, the Masquerada identity. So
of course.
So if you were to then sort of really, again, if through all the conversation we've said not to do this, but sort of if you were to sort of maybe narrow down and actually sort of really consider what is sort of the identity of Masquerada, where do you see this fitting in sort of the world of the music scene in general?
Well, I think disco will always kind of be at the heart of Masquerada, but I think as the sound kind of progresses through time, we're going to follow it. I want to keep it, current, fun, and at the end of the day, we're a party. Like, we started Masquerada because we love a party. We never want it to ever edge towards being intimidating, serious,
chin strokey. It's
like,
not,
or snobby of a certain sound or people. It's inclusive of everyone, and we want to make sure that everyone, like, you've been to our parties, right? And when it kicks off, it kicks off, and that feeling just for us can't be replicated. Like, to watch everyone at a 10 out of 10 having fun, enjoying themselves. We want to take that and just keep growing and, expand and take, make it on a bigger level.
Just bigger, on a bigger scale. I think the key is fun. That a lot of parties that we've been going to, you're like, well, this is sick. The music, the DJs are banging, but is anyone having fun, or is this just a soundtrack to drugs? Like,
yeah.
And now I think our parties they're slightly campy, they're fun. We're not afraid to be a bit silly, and I think then the audience then relax into themselves, and then they're having fun as well. They can see, they're looking up, they see us having fun, then they have fun.
Oh, I mean, and because I've been to, there's a couple, but the one that really I won't forget anytime soon was that boat party. Oh my God. I mean, the weather was absolutely perfect. So obviously that does always help, but you stepped on there, and from the moment that thing set off to the moment that it finished, and then obviously going into the after party as well, the energy that was on that top, and the lower deck, but I spent a lot of time on that top deck. Oh my word. And as you say, it's like that no one was taking themselves very seriously. Everyone was just having a fucking boogie.
Exactly.
Honestly.
There's none of that looking around. Who's looking at me?
Yeah.
You know, if
Cool
I could
crowd.
just bottle
that
bottle that energy and just keep it, I would. Like,
yeah.
I think you're already putting yourself in a different situation than you normally be. Right, we're not in Fabric. We're somewhere where we wouldn't normally party. And it's like, there's already something in the air about it. Because doing a boat party is something that you might not necessarily do every year. It's not something you come across a lot, especially in London. I know in Beaver or something, they're happening every day. But in London, it's not something that's a regular occurrence.
But we do want to, we want to take that to a club setting as well.
Yeah.
It's not just something exclusive to the boat. Obviously, going up and down the Thames is fun, and going under big bridges that you don't normally do every day. But we want to capture that and bring it to a club setting. Like I said, we get out a lot, and it's quite a lot of club nights can be quite serious, I think. So
there's a couple of things I really want to touch on there, because again, it's interesting, the decision for, because again, when I was thinking about the boat party, I was like, damn, actually, how many times do you come across this? Don't get me wrong, I know that there are collectives that do this, but it does feel like there's something sort of a little bit special about it. But having then also seen you at Colours in Hoxton, I know that energy does transfer across. But what do you feel like you're having to do as a collective to sort of have that moment of standout in quite a saturated market of London Sea?
I think we play fun music, so it attracts a different crowd. So like it does stand out. It's quite hard without masturbating yourself, but like, we're the best and everyone else is rubbish. Yeah.
No. I know it. I'm with you. Yeah, it's a fun party setting.
It's hard to stand out.
A lot of it has to do with the crowds that we bring. We make a lot of friends, like being out, fun friends as well, and they come to our events. They pass the word on, and before you know it, you've got a room full of fun people. So that's kind of all you need for a party. Fun, really fun people and good music. Yeah. Not people out for the wrong reason. People out actually to dance and enjoy themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just take a moment because again, there's been a ridiculous amount of projects. Again, as I said to you just off camera, as I was doing my research into everything that you've been doing, I sort of went all the way back to your starts back in 2020. You sort of had an initial gig, then you got slapped with lockdown, and sort of that moved into sort of the live streaming territory. And then sort of since then, you've had these boat parties, you've had festival appearances. I saw that as well. You have, even though obviously it's not as frequent, you have played outside of the country on a number of occasions. And obviously, coming up in November is the granddaddy, the big one,
yes.
The absolute big one. So the 26th of November. Talk to me about this event, boys.
So we planned on doing something a little bit earlier in the year, and then we just looked at that and were actually, we're not quite ready for this yet. And then we were approached by Barry at Steelyard, who's a friend of ours, says, right, I'm going to give you the opportunity, we'll work together on it. And it's been a massive leap for us and a massive learning curve. But we pulled together a lineup we're really, really proud of. We've got the residents, and then we've got some of the biggest, who I think are the biggest and best names in Europe in house music right now, an eclectic sound of house music. So a Jekka, who's sort of like, comes from Transwax, well, he was Transwax, still is Transwax, just played back-to-back with Solomon all night long at Pasha. You've got Selena Fader, who's just played everywhere, Defected, Elro. Matter of fact, based up in Liverpool, who are at the forefront of that ravey house music sound with plays. Their tunes are just getting played by all the biggest DJs. Trutopia, friends of ours, run the Nightmares label, residents at Amnesia. And then Husko dropped his track Goodnight, and it has not left our USB since it came out.
And he's kind of like, he's like the driving force of like this new era of disco
house,
like thumping, like house. Oh, it's an amazing sound. So I think between them all, it is honestly a lineup that we were jumping up and down, when we put this one together.
You're going to come and hear the newest house music, the freshest house music going on. You're not coming to see, no offense, but Todd Terry again or Roger Sanchez again. This is going to be what is the current sound of house music in the UK and Europe right now. And that's a lineup we're really, really proud of.
I mean, again, having spent the time, really diving into sort of your journey, and it's interesting because I imagine that there's been aspects of it where you talk about it being a big leap, big learning curve, but sort of the question is, when is there ever really a right time for that movement? And I think that from an outside perspective, obviously you will feel very differently because your day-to-day experiences of Mascanada and sort of your involvement in that is very different to what I know. But certainly from an outside perspective, having watched over the last couple of years anyways, this feels like a place where you deserve to be moving to. I mean,
Thank you.
It's a really, really exciting prospect for you to be able to take on a venue like that. And, actually that brings me to a really nice question as well, is that, how important is the venue? I'm guessing you have a lot of time spent sort of researching and looking into different venues.
It's a big one-room warehouse with some of the best production in London. Not going to say how much they've just spent doing the place up, but sort of visual walls, LED walls, new lighting rig, new speakers, new sound engineer. The production levels in that club right now are some of the best in the UK. Production is going to be on another scale, and we've got some little surprises coming, but it really is like out of this world production. And I think the audience demand that now as well. Definitely.
It can't just. I mean, of course, the music's number one, but people need a bit more now. They want a bit more, and also we needed a venue to match Mascanada and where we see it. We're not an underground
club night. No.
No.
We're not. We're not venue MOT or anything like that. We are. Suited to the more commercial sided clubs.
Of course, and I think it's just a perfect venue. It's industrial kind of space, but I've never seen like a cleaner nightclub in London. Yeah,
it's almost like, when you go to the clubs in Ibiza and you might pay like 70 quid a ticket, but you're like, okay, I can see why. The lights are better, the toilets are clean, the floor's not sticky. Do you know what I mean? It's nice, and Steelyard definitely has that.
And we the last time we were there, we were just shooting a bit of promo. We had the sound guy give us a little sample of where we're going to be on the night.
That rig is naughty.
It is not messing about.
I can imagine, obviously alongside the sense of, natural nervous and stuff like that. But I imagine just the journey towards this, the excitement you must be feeling. It's
just also, it is a really tough time at the moment with sort of the cost of living crisis. That we understand it's tough for everyone, even though the tickets are affordable. But it isn't just a 20 quid ticket, is it? It's everything, the taxis, the beers, everything that comes along with it. And I think I read a statistic last night how like there's one venue closing every 7 hours in the UK.
Wow.
So there's now, you can see that people aren't going out partying as much as they might have done 3-4 years ago. So we do just...
Yeah, and I think,
it is a tough time to be throwing large-scale events.
Yeah. And I think timing-wise, we launched Mascanada, we went into a lockdown.
We've had no luck in it.
We exited lockdown and was like, let's go huge, and we enter a recession. Again. So it's but this is, we could have given up ages ago. This is our life, and we're going to continue with the dream. We promise one of the most incredible nights of the year. We promise you that. And regardless of, how many tickets we sell, it really will be a special night. So please do come.
Yeah, please come. We don't want to get real jobs. We want to carry on this dream.
I have all confidence, truly. I mean, I'm beyond excited for you.
Thank you.
And I really do wish you the best of luck with that. So yes, I mean, again, we've obviously spoken about this idea of there sort of being, important decisions about, the venues that you choose to host and to house different things. But obviously you are in sort of the tail end, that promotional element. So, the planning process beyond just the venue decision. I mean, I'm obviously doing this on a much, much smaller scale, but even when I think about how many things I need to consider for just, a relatively small size event, I can't imagine, how much you have to consider. But is there an element to the planning process which actually you have come to really, really love, actually really diving into it? And then sort of secondly, is there an element of your planning that in the first instance was absolutely hellacious, but actually you sort of managed to discover better ways of coping with that process?
I think we both we love the planning process.
Yeah,
that's the best part. Yeah. When we get to sit down, when we're day one, and we're right, let's look at a lineup.
Where we're going and who we're doing it with.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I quite nerd out on like speakers and lights. I've always said if I wasn't a DJ, I reckon that's what I would have loved to have gone into AV. So I sort of take that side of stuff, don't I? And
I've come to love social media marketing, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely gonna touch on that in a little bit.
So I think just drawing it all together, and you must do it yourself. You go to events and you're right, those speakers are a bit shit, or that sounds a bit off. Right, okay, those lights, okay, that what they're doing there with the lights looks banging. But you've also got to trust other people. Like we've been working with the dancer Annalisa over the summer, and we were quite nervous to have somebody else in a position, in a role, and you've just got no, we've got to trust her. She knows exactly what she's doing, and leave them to it. And it's the same when we're working with these lighting designers and sound designers. You've got to trust them in their work as well. You've employed them to do a job. You can't micromanage, go, okay, I want the lights like this on this specific song. It's like, no. They know what they're doing. Trust them in their work as well.
I mean, I'm so connected in the sense of again, I just think about where even I'm still very much in the early stages of sort of building up some of the things that I'm doing with serotonin, but I just fundamentally agree with this interest and this fascination with, for example, the neon brain that I've got, the moment that I got it's good. And again, I will say a shout out to Disco for that one, because I saw there,
we robbed them as well.
Yeah,
shout out Marwan, he knows what he's doing with the neon.
But do you know what I mean? That I look at that as sort of just an element to your night. And I would be looking towards not only the DJs, but you look at it and go, that is just that.
It looks sick.
It looks sick.
It's so simple, so effective. You go to Printworks and they've got a 60-foot LED wall, which is mind blowing.
Yeah.
But we were at Disco the other day, and they've got a bit of fog in the air, and then just that
neon,
absolute classic disco neon sign hung, and it's just a staple of the room and a staple of the brand.
But I do from Steelyard, we do have a 20-foot LED wall.
We do. Yeah.
We've got big production.
You've got something to play with here. You've got something to play with.
It is massive. Yeah. And we've actually got some custom design LED visuals that we've had made up. So they have to be seen to believe. If you've seen our advert that we had with the bouncing mirror ball, it's all going to match the branding with that. It's super exciting what we've got planned for it. I don't want to say too much.
No. You hold tight.
The production is I talk what you expect from any Masquerade show. Lots of glitter, lots of confetti, big moments. Yeah, and we've graduated from the handheld ones now. We've actually got proper ones.
They work a treat though. Well, actually, no, they don't. We've just started another event.
Yeah,
and they didn't work a treat. We had We had the dancers, five of them, and two of them went off. Not at the same time either.
Oh, not ideal. But I mean, that also sort of tying into what you were saying about some of the social media marketing, and sort of before I really touch on that, I want to sort of focus in on the concept of artwork and actually, and the photography, because looking at your Instagram page or your socials, and especially now linking into sort of the Steelyard, the promotional bit that you did for that. Boys, it looks pretty shit hot. I won't lie. It looks great. I don't know who does your photography. I don't know whether that's you or someone that you bring in. But how important do you think? Because I am interested, just because I have a perception of this. But how important do you think that the artwork, even the event artwork, or whatever it might be is to the selling of that event.
It's paramount. In the day...
Paramount, I like that.
Yes.
Paramount.
Collect that one. In the world we live in now, a social media world, where, you know, everything that you do is online, especially marketing your event, the artwork is everything. You know, it has to catch your attention instantly.
And it's now you no longer need like a still image because of Instagram pushing reels. Your flyer needs to now move. Yeah. So you need an animated flyer now. But we've been lucky that we've worked with some, like Tom at Disco Express does a lot of our stuff. I was going to say, any shout outs? Yeah, Tom at Disco Express does a lot of
what's
stuff.
Patrick's surname?
Yeah, I've gone under Pilot. Yeah,
DJ.
Pilot Presents.
He's the one who filmed our Steelyard promo, and we were away at the time when we received it, and we were like, yes, this is giving like top scale, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's he does some great
so it's
bits
the
of
Mutual
footage.
Friends crew. So it's now Liam Smith, who we haven't worked with, but Patrick and Ben. So Ben did our sort of like modelling photos recently. Patrick did our well, I don't know how to describe
promo
it.
shots.
Yeah, and then promo press shots. That's the word. And then
see us in the Argos magazine.
I love to see where your mind went to straight away, though. You know.
And then Patrick's been doing our video content for us. So I think we've used loads of different people over the course of the years, but I think we've now like
we found a team,
what we wanted, the consistency on the branding, and what we want it to look like.
Of course, yeah. And then we sourced, so we've got another load of content that we had made, which is actually all the promo work for Steelyard, the lineup announcement and everything. That was actually sourced.
Yeah, Dan Randis, his name is, and he's based in Prague. And so I followed this drum and bass festival, and I was like, their artwork's sick. Showed it to Kyle. You were like, yeah, wow. This is banging. So we just tracked him down, and we got this guy in Prague to make it for us.
He's incredible.
Yeah,
like I think he's a visual artist, isn't he? So he
does a lot of work with like stop motion and stuff with like it's animation. So it's like like I said, you no longer need that like picture. You need animated content now.
Well, it's an interesting, because again, something that's been a driving factor for the Boogie Nights events is that I've worked with a friend of mine. Shout out to Hanny Draws for that. Where we basically each event needs its own identity. It needs a sense of, you know, obviously there's a unifying sort of thing across all of it, that it all comes back
consistent
together.
Theme,
yeah,
but each one is
in it. You've then got something that really, you know, it just entices people even further. And I something in my own mind that, or certainly how I hold it as opinion, is that in some sense, sort of that promotional element, the creation of the photography or the artwork, the standing in comparison to then what your DJs are, that gap seems to be sort of getting closer and closer. Because don't get me wrong, the bread and butter are the DJs. You know, the night itself, that is never going to be trumped by anything. But it's just so interesting to see how over time, sort of that gap between, you know, where people might just sort of throw something together, you go, he's got a date and a time, here you go, and you're actually starting to see now, you know, these sort of big brands and these and smaller ones, to be honest, is that they're investing more to ensure that when, you know, it's then come across on social media, they're like, that is something I want to go to before they've even gone.
Yeah, you can tell it's more of a professional night. Like, we play at some smaller events, we do, and you like, some of them, you look at the artwork, you're like, you've just done that on like Microsoft Paint. I remember our first one that you made.
I made that on Microsoft Paint.
And it was like the mirror ball was
like,
the moon.
Right, I've got this idea, it's for a boat party, but like, let's turn the sun into a disco ball.
Yeah.
Legit did that.
And we were like, that's sick.
I think we had about 16 different fonts, like every colour under the sun. And then to make it kind of original and like, you know, keep people on their toes, we'll do the flyer in every colour. So we had like an orange one, a blue one. I don't know why. Well, why did we do that?
We thought it was so cool at the time.
Just kind of the learning
with it, exactly.
But then you've got, again, like you were saying before, there's somebody that could do that well better than you.
Yeah.
And you got to pay for it, but
and I think if I'm going to take any lesson out of Masconada is if you're not great at it and you can pay someone better to do it, pay it because it's money well spent.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm getting much better on Canva, getting much better, but I'm not about to start making our promo material anytime soon.
Well, that leads me so perfectly almost. It's what a beautiful segue is that, you know, when you started Masconada, obviously, yes, you had the live streams and things like that, and that was a massive success for you. But if I sort of really keep that attention on sort of the physical events that you've run, you started, 200 person event, to now you are sort of involved in 500 people plus events, on a weekend basis. Every single month you're sort of seeing these things sort of grow, and it's testament obviously to all the work that you put into, but it's also sort of a recognition of you are understanding what people want to see, and you are understanding what sort of night people want. But along that process, what do you think, and again in that reflective sense, what were some of the key decisions that you've made over the last couple of years where you look back on and go, we made such a good choice doing that? Because I suppose one of them, as you just said, is if there's someone that can do it that's better than you, and you have the finances to pay them, do it. I imagine that's one. But is there any other key decisions?
Don't put the genre in the name.
Don't put the genre in the name.
Because there's so many, like you got Disco, London Disco Society, something disco, and I'm so glad we didn't do that, because we don't. Well, obviously we played disco, but I'm so glad we didn't do that. Don't put the genre in the name.
Yeah, that's a very, very good one.
That's a good one.
And what's the other one? Don't put your festival wristband on your wiping hand.
that is a solid piece of advice.
I actually messed that one up at Glastonbury. She asked me what my wiping hand was. I thought I knew, but apparently I didn't.
Oh, well, I mean, so just to round things off, again, obviously we've done a few little shout outs in this video, or this podcast, sorry, just because obviously there's alongside yourselves, it's a collective effort. There's people that have come across, but is there, whether that be a DJ, whether that be a particular individual that's helped you out in any way, is there a scope for a little shout out for them? Is there anyone
definitely have to shout out our residents? They're, well, they are Masconada. They are the brand. Tommy Tickle, Holly Prophet. You guys set the tone, and we've got lots of exciting things to come.
And also, I'd probably say like our friends and partners. Like my girlfriend is so forgiving, and I know Jake is with you. That like lets us gallivant about the country, come home at 6 a.m, like be hungover and be skint when we're skint,
and then still buy tickets,
and then share in the moment. Like I'm so thankful that I've got a partner that lets me like do what I do and be forgiving for because we're hard work, and what we do is hard work, and it can be very consuming. And Jesse knows when to give me space, and when to give me support. Yeah. So
we're both in long-term relationships, and I think it's kind of rare. I think DJs get a bit of stick, don't they? In relationships, they tend not to. They always say don't date a DJ, because it's a difficult industry, and it's probably difficult to be with one. But yeah, I think we've got incredible support. Yeah, and all our friends, that's how we built the brand of friends buying tickets, and then they're still there, still coming. So. Shout out to you guys. Yeah. Big up to Michael Gray.
Michael Gray's been. Well, he's someone that definitely we look up to.
Yeah.
We not only do we play his tunes all the times, but just meeting him and how just the professionalism of him, when you can see him backstage, and the way even though he might be drinking or whatever, but it's never taken too far. He's professional on stage. He delivers the product. He's always he just is DJing.
We play with him with quite a bit.
I've seen.
And just. Yeah, he's definitely someone that I can only speak for myself, but I definitely look up to.
100%. And he's given some fantastic advice. I think he really supports our brand. So
shout out to Michael Gray.
Yeah. Shout out to Michael Gray, and shout out to the Masconada brothers.
Oh, mate.
This has been, it's just been amazing to deep dive into everything that you've done, and the phrasing I will put this as is so far. You've obviously got some big things coming up. November.
Yeah, when does this come out?
We'll try and make this happen in November. In November.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't want to say what we've got. I'll tell you off camera. We've got some exciting stuff. Next 2023 is going to be we're definitely scaling back on the amount of events, but the scale of events and what we've got. Yeah, we'll tell you in a minute.
I'm very.
And
very
if excited. If you keep locked on our Instagram, where you can find out everything going on.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that if this conversation hasn't proven enough, you need to go and check out all of their sort of social media pages. Again, not only have they got big events and big things going on, but actually, you know, the content you're producing online looks absolutely amazing. And it's testament to the hard work you're putting in, and it's only going to continue to grow. So, I mean, thank you so much for coming to join me today in Cambridge. It's been a long time coming, to be honest. I've only been able to catch you both in sort of, you know, you're in event mode. You know, I get to sort of see you for 2 minutes, but I just sort of knew you know, every time I've had those short conversations, I felt the energy from both of you. So thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, no worries at all. And again, if you want to watch any more podcasts like this, then also head over onto the Serotonin YouTube channel or onto our social media pages. But for now, boys, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Nice one. Woohoo.